Good morning, everyone. Let's bring your attentions and all your energy to our meeting now. Today, we have a special event here at TSS. As we have the celebration of Christmas this month, we have the presentation actually is a special setup. We have what we call the TSS Talk, and we have two dear friends doing the talk today about whose birthday is this. We're going to have Rafael and Danielle with us for the presentation. We have, after the presentation, a special potluck to celebrate our Christmas. And we ask a donation of $15, if you can, to contribute for the lunch. I had a look at the table. It's looking pretty good. So I hope you guys feel invited to stay with us and have a little gathering after. Our friend Mateus is going to do a reading today. Marco Magalhães is going to do a prayer for us. And let's get it started with Mateus.
So, it's the book Happy Life, written by Divaldo Franco, and it's by Joanna G. Angelis. Maintenance cheerfulness in your behavior. A fraud expression reflects affection, dislike, and contrariness. You can have the right attitude and act seriously without putting on the mask of a bad mood. Cheerfully and joyfully spread good humor. Radiate the well-being that enriches your heart. The treasure of a cheerful demeanor is the price of happiness that you extend to everyone.
So let us this moment elevate our thoughts to our Father, Mother, God, our Creator, to our Master Jesus, asking for the blessings for this moment of learning, of sharing, of happiness. May we all at this moment feel inside our hearts the connection with the above, this beautiful, crystalline, beautiful, lightful energy that surrounds us and connects us. And may we spread to all the others around the world, the joyful celebrations of love that represents this moment. Thank you for all the spirits who are here today assisting us, for each and every one of us that could be connected to us at this moment. And may we all ask for our protector spirits to bless our speakers today, each one of us, so we can connect together and celebrate the law of love. So be it.
Morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today for this speech, the first of the month, talk about Christmas, and for my first speech in TSS, so I'm quite nervous as well. Today, it's Christmas. Whose birthday is this? So when you think about birthday, what is the first thing come to your mind? For mine, birthday is party. So when you think about party, I remember when I was a kid, lots of parties during the year, different friends, and once a month I had mine. And so it's a very special moment. Family, food, friends. And when I was a kid, unlimited supply of canned pop. It was amazing. And even now in adult life, birthday is very special. It's the time to put everyone together to celebrate a new year, a change for a new year. And it's not only the party, but especially the preparation of the party. We start to think about where we're doing the party and who we will invite for that, what type of food, drinks, and so it's a very special moment. In a few days, a friend of mine will celebrate his birthday, and I consider him as my best friend, and I believe he can be your best friend as well. Do you have an idea who is my best friend? Oh yes, it's my Master Jesus. So during the party, it's time to spoil the celebrant, and it's a magical moment because when you are together, doesn't matter if you stay together during the week, every day, or when you met once in a while, but during the party, it's a special moment, especially when Jesus is the celebrant. I can feel him hugging me and say, "Oh, thank you to come, thank you to be here. I'm very proud to see you one more year." And when you go for a party, normally you bring a present. Did you think about what type of gift you can give to Jesus? What you can give to Jesus to make his a little spoiled? Did you think about it? What type of gift you can give to Jesus? Yeah, exactly. So let's spread the love that Jesus showed to us, because the life of Jesus was just spread the love, spread charity. So let's follow his step and do the same. Let's give this type of gift for our friends, our family, because you cannot go there and say, "Hey Jesus, come here, I bought this gift for you." So let's share this love, this charity with our friends, our family, and then I believe we can meet Jesus inside of each of our friends, inside of each our in the people on the streets. So when you stop in the traffic and give a passage for someone else, you don't yelling with someone when cross in front of you. I believe it's a type of charity. You don't have to go for some special place to do a charity, or for, I don't know, there is no special place to do a charity. You can do a charity when you stand up in the bus and give a seat for someone for a pregnant, for elderly. So I believe this is type of charity you can do day by day. You don't need for a special moment or a special occasion to do charity. And I was reading a lot to do this lecture, and I watched one presentation from Divaldo Pereira Franco, and I really enjoyed that presentation. He was talking about one music for the Christmas who touched his heart, and all the time he put this music to his child, and he just have 600 child. So yeah, he has a lot of adopted child. He don't have anyone by bloody, but by heart he's adopt 600 children. So can you imagine that, a house with 600 children? I have one, and it's it's a lot of work. So 600 take time. So yes, and he say all the time when he listening this music touched so deep his heart. And I said, okay, yeah, I believe it's a good thing to share with our friends. So this music was wrote in the Christmas Eve in 1818 in Austria for a Catholic priest. He was sitting in front of the window, and it's Christmas Eve. It's snowing outside. It's very warm inside for the fireplace. He was drinking a hot chocolate. So I believe you can feel the sensation here in Canada. So during the winter, especially, I love snow when I'm inside and snow is outside. So in this situation, I love snow. I love the winter, especially like this. When I look the window, it's so beautiful. Yes, exactly. It's so beautiful. It's no there, and I'm here. So, and he was reading about Jesus' birthday, and he was so involved in this atmosphere. And suddenly this atmosphere was broken by one lady knocked so heavily the door. He was in the church, and the lady was knocking the door very anxious because her mommy was in labor, and there was no one to help the mommy. And she just thought about this priest. She said, yeah, you can help me because I don't know what to do. And they both ran to the very rumble house when the mommy was there. And when they arrived there, the labor was done. The baby was with the mom in her arm, sorry. And she was so exhausted because she did all the job alone. She pushed the baby alone. No one was there. Apparently, no one was there. So, and when the priest arrived, she gives the baby to the priest and say, please hold him. I need to take a rest. And she slept for a few hours. And during this moment, when he hugged the baby, it was a magical moment for the priest because he thought about Jesus and he feeling Jesus in his arm, and it was a very, very good scene for him. And after a few hours, when he went back to the monastery, he was not able to sleep because he was thinking about that moment to bring the baby to life, to the earth. And again, all the time Jesus came to his mind, and he said, okay, I cannot sleep, let's write a poem about that. And he did that. He named this poem Silent Night because it was very silent that moment when the baby came to the life, but it was a very special moment. And he said, okay, tomorrow I have a lunch with my friend who is a musician, and I believe we can make a music for this poem. But unfortunately, or not, the piano was not working that day. And they wrote a melody for that music, but they was waiting until the next day or the day after when the repairman came to do his job, to make the piano work. And the piano was repaired, and they said, okay, wait a minute, let's test if the piano is really working. And then they play this music, the Silent Night. And the piano man was very involved in that music. He was very touched very deep in that music. He said, okay, this music will be mine from now, because all the place when I go there to repair some instrument, I will test the instrument with this music, because this music is so beautiful. It's talk about Jesus, talk about love. Let's spread this music. And day by day he was spreading by himself the music around the village around, and this music became very famous that time, and everyone sing that music every time when you were walking. You were like I don't know this word, he was making some noise and was singing this music. And one day during the one family, they work in a street market, there was no client that time on his stand. The children start to sing this music to grab the attention for the clients. And one guy who worked in the theater listened to the music, say, oh, this music is very good, you don't need to sing here, let's go to the theater and sing it in one night. And the family accepted, of course. They went there, they sing that music, and everyone was crying because he was really touched for this music, for this melody. And one American musician was there listening to the music and said, oh, yeah, I can bring this music for US as well. So they bring the music, and in there, so everything when you go to US, it's easily spread around the road. This music is now well known for everybody. And 100 years later, during the First World War, this war took 4 or 5 years. The soldiers was very tired to fight against another country, and especially that night was Christmas night. The French side was tired, homesick. They start to sing this music in French, of course. And then was a lot of soldiers there. The music was so loud and so beautiful. It was able to be listening from the Germans from the other side. And the Germans say, come on, look, they are there. We can easily shot now. But they didn't. They start to sing the music as well. And in that moment, the war was over for a few minutes because everyone was singing the music, was touching by Jesus, and they was invoke Jesus' peace, Jesus' love. And for that night, everyone put the guns away and put the heart in front. So think about that. Let's get this Christmas spirit. Let's bring it to us. Let's bring it for our home. If the Christmas spirit was able to stop the war, think about what they can do in our house, in our home, in our job. I know everybody has someone in the job, in the office or whatever you work, say, yeah, I don't like that person, or I don't know the reason, but I don't like. So think about that. Why you don't like? Let's use the Christmas environment to bring that person close to you, because now everyone, doesn't matter the religion, everyone is quite a little open for good things, to help other. Let's use it in our favor, because I believe I have some people in my office I don't like, and I believe everyone has the same. Let's use that. Let's try to bring everyone close to us. I believe it's the very good moment. And when you do charity, we are so involved in help others. We don't care if you are so tired, or you put our problems away to give our attention for others. And let's do it, and let's learn. Because when you help others, you learn with, if you go for orphanage or when you go for asilo, you learn with these people as well. Let's love this moment and let's have a, how can I say, miss this moment when it's January, February comes, and then let's do it again. Let's go for hospitals, let's help others, and let's spread the Christmas spirit around the year. It's just don't need to be just in December. And so let's have Jesus our side. Let's be hugged by Jesus. I took this two sentence from Antologia Mediúnica de Natal. Sorry, there is no in English this book. It's from Chico Xavier. Christmas is not only a celebration in the heart and at home, it is also a reaffirmation of Christians' attitude through the life. So let's be Christians 12 months per year, not just in the Christmas or in December. And the other one is Christmas, good news, goodwill. Let us extend the sympathy for everyone and begin to really live with Jesus under the splendor of the new day. So every day it's a new day. It's Chico Xavier say every day you have a blank page in front of us. So let's write with love, with charity, and I believe you make a very good thing for our lives, because the meaning of the life is get up, help others, do charity. And when you go back for home, let's be a better person than we came. So, thank you. No? I will give opportunity for our friend Dale. It was singing before. Let's what? Just a second.
It's not working.
Daniel needs to get set up. Start with play in the end. Thank you, brother. Will I be running at the end for those who stay for the potluck? Or just give a few seconds for Daniel to get ready. Unless you don't want me to stop now. Okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make everyone feel so emotional as this song. After all, it would be unfair. It's very good to be with all here, many friends. And Rafael, he did a great job making the introduction for the month of Christmas. That is the month where we celebrate the Jesus' birthday. And here in our life, in North America, in Canada, many times Christmas can be a time for us to do a lot of things. To do shopping, to eat a lot, to have fun. And there's nothing wrong about that. I think this is great, but I also think it's a good thing to take some time to reflect a little bit about some of the lessons, some of the teachings from Jesus himself. So the way I have structured this 15 minutes talk, I have subdivided into 3 topics, which I call 3 reflections. The first one is about compassion and humility. The second one is about charity. And the third reflection is how we can actually build a better future through faith and hope. I have listened to a TED Talk from Pope Francis about a year ago. And when I knew that I was going to give this talk, I felt a little bit lost in terms of how do I find the right words to talk with something so deep and so important, such as Jesus' lessons, in only 15 minutes. And I directly connected to that talk from Pope Francis. So a big part of what I'm explaining today is my learnings from his talk. And after, I invite you all to watch it if you are interested. Let's think a little bit about what is the very first lesson of love that Jesus gave to us. Many times we study the Bible. The Bible talks a lot about the time of his apostleship, the time of his main teachings, but can someone here try it? And what is the very first lesson of love that Jesus gave to us? Does anyone here want to try help me out? It was his birth. Because if we think a little bit about it, as a spiritist, we know that Jesus is the governor of our planet. So he's the closest that we can, as close as we can understand God. A very evolved spirit, so high that our human minds can barely imagine what that would be. And still, for some reason, now we know what's the reason, but we didn't, he came to earth and he incarnated in a human body. He did not have to do that. So if we think that his birth was already a moment where we can learn a lot, because we have someone who we can see as a father, as we understand God, a figure that's so up above and so evolved, and he came down to our own level to teach us something. He came, he faced an existence, a human existence, facing many things in his flesh, in his life. And this is very powerful because this teaches me, and I think we all can learn from that. What can we actually learn from that? How we can actually replicate this learning from Jesus with others? And I want to make a parallel about the love that a parent has with a child. Doesn't need to be a parent necessarily, or someone that you love a lot. When you have a young child and you want to communicate, you want to speak at the same level, right? So you don't speak like an adult. You don't ignore the problems of a child if you truly love this child. You understand, you hear, and you communicate at the same level of language. So this is exactly what Jesus tried to do to us. But it's very hard for us to understand sometimes. So if we think about this that we can make with, that we do when we make with people that we love, children in our life, this is very similar. And this is the feeling of compassion. It's the feeling of compassion that makes parents adapt to the same language of communications as their children. And compassion is a choice, to be honest. It's a choice that we can make every day in our lives. And many times people might think it's a weakness, but actually it's not a weakness. It's a fortitude. It's our ego telling us that this is a weakness, that we should not be compassionate, that we should have something to withstand and to look stronger and to look better. But in fact, the moment that we open our hearts to listen to others, to help others, the moment that we use our ears to listen to those who have troubles, the moment that we use our eyes to see those who many times in our society are considered invisible, is the moment that we are exercising our true compassion. And compassion is the path of solidarity, is the path of humility, as this lesson, as the incarnation of Christ. And this compassion is one of the characteristics of charity, which brings me to the second message that I want to talk a little bit about today. And many times when we think about charity, let's be honest, we think about donating food, donating money, doing social work, and this is something great. It's so good that we live in a time where, when we compare with the past, donations and charity work has grown and has achieved a level that we have never seen before. However, it's truly important not to understand charity merely as that. It's truly important to think about charity as how can we make charity be the default attitude that we have in our behavior. How can we make charity be the default attitude that we have in our home, that we have in our work, that we have with all those that we interact with. And many times we forget that. We stuck to some other things. I can talk about myself sometimes as a spiritist. You say, I need to do the gospel at home, I need to do this reading, and I need to study and learn, and this is very important. But the very basis of the Spiritist doctrine is the maxim: with charity there is no salvation. This is the essence of what Jesus tried to teach us and that can actually lead us to a moral transformation. And charity is born from our hearts. It is a free response that we can only make it grow if it comes deep from our heart. It's not something that it can come merely from the mind. Oh, I need to do charity. We need to feel it. And sometimes we are facing so many troubles. We live in times where we see so many bad things. We see bad things in news. We see bad things happening to us in our lives. Many times we are struck by some facts that we did not anticipate, right? And this can be in a relationship. This can be in work. This can be the loss of someone that we really loved. And we struggle. How I can be charitable when I'm feeling sometimes miserable, when I'm going to sow some struggles? And if we pause for a second and we think that among so many contradictions, among so many good and bad things, life is a gift that every day we have an opportunity to learn something from the suffering, from whatever we are facing, and you understand that love is the source and the meaning of life, I think something good starts to emerge from our heart. And I think that when this happens, we start to practice the real charity. And the real charity, I believe, demands knowledge, it demands courage, and it demands creativity. Creativity to actually be able to address the problems of others. Creativity to actually understand how we can be compassionate, because there is no written formula. Many times we use formulas as an excuse just to appease our conscience. We say, oh no, this is what I have to do, I have done it, check. But we don't stop, we don't reflect, and you don't see the real impact. Because sometimes you have someone who's asking money in the street, and you might think it's just about the money, you give it money, oh, that's great. But sometimes it's about actually looking at this person. Is about actually realizing that there is a lot to do in the world that we live in. And even though we have our families, we have our busy life, there are a few things, a few steps that we can take to start building, to start vibrating a higher level, to start making the world that we want, that we are living in, the world that we want to live in. And when we think still about charity, we might think, but who should I practice charity with? Right? We think about our families, and Jesus was asked that same question, who is my neighbor? Jesus was asked. In other words, who I should take care of. And then he used a parable to answer this question. Does anyone know which parable I'm talking about? You probably have heard about the parable of the Good Samaritan. So the parable about the Good Samaritan it's a story of a man who had been robbed, he had been assaulted, he had been beaten, and had been left behind in a dirty road. And upon seeing him left behind in that road, two very respectable men at the time, a priest and a Levite, which was a Jewish authority at the time, they passed by and they left the man unnoticed without helping. And then a Samaritan, and a Samaritan was a very much despised ethnicity at the time, he saw the man and he felt compassionate about the man. He didn't feel that this is not my problem. He felt, I need to do something. He went there, he helped the man, he cleaned the man's wounds, he took the man to a hostel, and he paid for all the expenses from his own pocket. And this is like what we can, the parable of the Good Samaritan is something that can be very much the story of today's humanity, where sometimes we see people's paths inflicted with suffering. And for many people, things are very centered around money and around things, and we forget that we live in a world that's all about people. People, incarnated spirits. And that just like the Good Samaritan, sometimes we need to take care of others, even if it's out of our own pocket. And I'm not talking only about financial resources. I'm talking about how to be actually present in people's life, how to actually be patient, how to actually be able to make an impact, how actually would like to be treated and be able to treat others. And Mother Teresa of Calcutta, she has a saying that says that one cannot love unless it's at their own expense. And this is very true because it demands a lot. It's not something just take for granted. We need to make an effort. And we might say, well, this is all great, Daniel, but I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm not the Good Samaritan. And yes, we are not, but still, each and every one of us is very special and very precious through the eyes of God. Because everyone is unique and everyone has a responsibility. Now, I'm moving to the third reflection of today, which connects to the message of charity in regards on what is this better future that we want to create? How can we look at it? In other words, how can we find a direction? Spiritism, it has announced, and we have been hearing a lot about Divaldo Pereira Franco and many others, that we are moving toward a world of regeneration. And many times when I discuss this, not in these words with other people in my life, there is a lot of pushback. People might think that you're naive. No, that's not happening. Look how many things are happening in the world. And believing in a world of regeneration, in transformation, does not mean to be optimistically naive or ignore all the tragedy humanity faces. It means that we need to have hope and faith. And why is it so important to have hope and faith? Because all successful changes that have been taking place in our history, in the history of society, they have not started by the simultaneous ideas of a group. It has always started from one single individual that connected with another individual that had the same kind of thought or the same kind of feeling. And then people started to group together and they started to be able to make a difference and to make an impact. Because once you believe in something, there is going to be another person who's going might believe in the same thing. And if you just stick to that, then you, instead of you, it becomes us. But the origin of the change was not the group, was not us, was an individual who started to believe in something, in a better future. And this is what I call cooperation. Understanding that our lives in this world as incarnated spirits is interconnected. Understanding that we are here for a reason, it's not by chance. There is a reason that we have incarnated in the same period of time, that we're living in the same city, and that we face the experiences that we do. And that we need to stick together to make the changes that we want. But the big question is, how do we find the direction, right? So there's a metaphor that comes to my mind, that regardless of how much knowledge you know, regardless of how much effort you know, if you're driving, if you want to achieve sunset and you're driving to the west and not to the east, if I'm not mistaken, you might put as much effort as you want, but you're not going to get there because you're moving to the wrong direction. So a good way to find the right direction is if we think about what are Jesus' lessons. And if we think and we follow Jesus' steps with so many things that he have taught to us, that many times we know, we just don't stop and think about it. And there are many traps to be able to follow Jesus' lessons. One of them, as a human being, from our mind, is to be distant from the present moment. Because as human beings, many times we do things. We do two things. Sometimes we get stuck to the past. We keep living in our heads the past, that situation, and we feel guilt, we feel remorse, or we feel that we can do something about something that happened. Or sometimes we think too much about the future. But we think too much about the future in a way that we stay in the future and we actually don't live the present. But the thing is, we cannot change the past. And if we always think about the future, we might lose sight of what we have the power to do right now, in the present, in this very day, regardless of what has happened in our lives, regardless of the history of the sufferings that we all have been through. We are all different, we are all at different levels, but the best moment is the next minute, because there is nothing I can do about the past. And I cannot do all the big plans that I have 10 years from now. I need to start it from right away. And to be able to find what I need to do, because I can't just pass by the present, I need to connect my present with the future, not live in the future, to be able to take actions in the present that will lead me to where I want to get in the future. And the best way to do that is to calm our mind sometimes, to have faith, to have the true faith, because this will help us connect with God. This will help us to connect with the voice that we heard, that we have in the back of our heads. This will connect us to help connect with our hearts. And when we do that, things start to flow in our life. And then we are able to be the change that we want in the world. So, summarizing the lessons, not the lessons, right? The reflections, because I'm not in a position to teach anyone here, and this is very honest. So, four main points. The number one is that with humility, by humbling ourselves, we turn ourselves open to a position of understanding of our brothers and sisters, just like if you remembered Jesus' incarnation, the lesson that he gave us. The second is that if you actually understand others, it becomes easier to love, because when you understand people's motives, instead of being so judgmental, when you actually connect with others, this makes it easier to love, which leads us to be able to practice the true charity more and more. With faith and hope, we can start to create the better world that we want to live in. And we can all do that if we think about the deep impact of Jesus' simple lessons. So just to finish and wish everyone a Merry Christmas, I will end with this quote from Chico Xavier, which is, "No one can go back in time and make a new beginning, but anyone can start over and have a new ending." So I hope that Christmas is a time of renovation and reflection for all of us, and that we are able to achieve all the good things, all the love, all the lessons from our Master, starting today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafael. Desculpa, Daniel. Vem cá, Rafael. Do we have any questions? I just want to say before questions come. It was very... I thought it was going to be an easy Christmas talk today. But you guys gave us a little, at least to me, it was very deep emotionally, and in a way of how, like a wake-up call, this talk was. And I think it was a great mix of you two. And if you guys have any comments, let us know. I was really touched today by your speech, guys, so thank you. And any comments, any...
Don't feel shy.
Don't feel shy, they like questions. Or anything that you'd like to bring. No? Well, so I hope the message stays. Internet, anyone? No? So I hope the message stays. Jesus didn't come here by coincidence, as it was mentioned today. I think it's the best example we have here. And anytime I listen to this song now, I'm going to think about how it helped so many people, and how the message from Jesus can make us closer to the ones we have a problem with in the office, in our street, at the kids' school. I think let's think about it through this Christmas, and as they said, carry on throughout the year, the message, and the work on making, our days better with our neighbors, right? So thank you. Now, não, mas eu passo agora, né? Depois faz a pressa, né? We're gonna go with the passes. Thank you. So thank you for everyone who's watching us through the internet. Now we're gonna have our passes and our potluck that unfortunately we're not gonna be here for.